Thank you. I move to take note of the Minister's answers to my questions on COP29. 3-0. I asked 3 questions and got nil specific answers. For 25 years, the United Nations has convened a conference of parties on climate change to counter the manufactured threat of global warming, climate change, climate disruption, global boiling, net zero, and many other rebrandings. For 29 years, taxpayers' money has been wasted on this pointless quest to solve a fake problem and failed to change world temperatures. Many in this chamber think giving money to the United Nations will enable us to affect world temperatures. Yet we can't, because temperatures are the result of factors not in our control. COP29 focused on finance, heavily on finance. Rich countries, which are overwhelmingly blamed for natural climate variation, agreed in 2009 to ramp up annual payments to provide $100 billion a year in 2020 to developing countries. That pledge was met in 2022, 2 years past the deadline. At Baku, the United Nations came up with a new number, meaning more of Australian taxpayers' money to be sent overseas to fight this concocted problem. The new deal agreed yesterday requires wealthy countries, including the US, European nations and Australia, to ramp up annual payments to $300 billion annually in 2035. So I asked the Minister, what's Australia's share? The Minister didn't know. If we paid based on the UN formula, Australia would be paying $6 billion every year. Money sent overseas and never seen again, reducing Australia's gross domestic product and with that the standard of living for all Australians. Worse, the agreement refers to a wider ambition to increase payments to developing nations up to $1.3 trillion annually, I believe. Developing nations include China, India, Egypt, all modern, vibrant economies. Worse, these nations have no formal obligation to cut their output of carbon dioxide gas, nor to provide financial help to poorer countries. One nation will withdraw from the UN climate agencies and UN imposts that are really income redistribution, communism disguised as climatism. One nation will stop the UN theft.
This week, COP29 concluded with significant agreements on global climate finance. For nearly 3 decades, the United Nations has convened these conferences of the parties, COPs, to tackle climate change, a phenomenon often rebranded with terms like global warming, climate disruption, and net zero. However, the outcomes of these conferences have drawn criticism, particularly over the financial commitments required from developed nations. Australia's Senator Malcolm Roberts voiced strong concerns about the latest financial pledges emerging from COP29. He highlighted that despite 29 years of efforts and billions spent, there has been no measurable change in global temperatures. Roberts criticised the notion that sending taxpayer money overseas could influence global temperatures, which he claims are governed by factors beyond human control. The COP29 agreements heavily focus on financial commitments. Wealthy nations, including Australia, are now expected to significantly increase contributions to developing countries. In 2009, a target of $100 billion per year by 2020 was set but only met by 2022. Yesterday, a new agreement proposed raising this amount to $300 billion annually by 2035, with a broader ambition of reaching $1.3 trillion. Malcolm Roberts questioned the impact on Australia's economy, stating that if Australia contributes based on UN formulas, it could be paying $6 billion annually by 2035. He pointed out that many recipient countries, such as China and India, are modern economies with no obligation to reduce carbon emissions or offer financial aid to poorer nations. According to Roberts, such policies harm Australia's GDP and living standards while serving as wealth redistribution under the guise of climate action. The One Nation Party, he declared, remains committed to withdrawing Australia from UN climate agencies, branding these initiatives as communism disguised as climatism. In a dramatic turn of events, John Pesutto has been ousted as leader of the Victorian Liberal Party following a leadership spill this morning. The motion to spill all leadership positions passed overwhelmingly, leading to the election of Brad Batten as the new leader. Brad Batten, a member of the Conservative faction, replaced Pesutto, who represented the moderate wing of the party. The leadership race saw 3 contenders. Jess Wilson, a moderate, was eliminated in the first round, leaving the final contest between Batten and fellow Conservative Chris Kruthier. Batten, who had been the front-runner, emerged victorious. The shake-up also saw significant changes in other leadership roles. Sam Groth was elected unopposed as deputy leader, succeeding David Southwick. In the upper house, David Davis replaced Georgie Crozier as leader. Additionally, Moira Deeming, who had been sitting as an independent Liberal after a controversial expulsion, was readmitted into the Liberal Party room. Reports suggest her reinstatement received overwhelming support, with a vote margin of 23-4. The party room also voted against allowing remote voting for absent MPs. While it's reported that some absentee MPs may have supported Pasuto, the final result was decisive enough to render their absence inconsequential. Pasuto's tenure as leader lasted barely 2 years, marked by internal factional struggles and limited success in uniting the party. The leadership change signifies a shift in direction for the Victorian Liberals, with Badden's election expected to steer the party further to the right. That's all for today's update. Stay tuned for more developments on these stories and others shaping our nation. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with the latest news. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.